Hit it, Phil.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La-da-da-da.
Stay tuned.
Right after this episode.
For our discussion.
From Television City in Hollywood, the Jack Benny program with Jack's guest, Ernie Kovacs. Brought to you by Lucky Strike. Get the genuine article. Get the honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
Men like this go for fine tobacco and no nonsense. That's what you get with Lucky Strike. Here's honest taste. Fresh, smooth, and unforgettable. When a man like this wants a cigarette, he goes for the genuine article. Lucky Strike. This one is what smoking was meant to be.
Never was a man who could forget the taste of a genuine cigarette. Get the honest taste a man can like. The honest taste of a Lucky Strike. The honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
Get the genuine article. Get the honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lucky Strike program. Now, to those of you who tuned in to my show 2 weeks ago, you will remember that you finally saw our parody of Gaslight, you see. Now, to those of you who didn't tune in, I'd like to explain that Gaslight is that psychological murder mystery, that murder drama, in which I drove Barbara Stanwyck, MGM, and the Supreme Court nuts. And I do want to thank MGM for allowing me to release this picture, you see. Of course, although I felt they'd do it anyway, because 18 years ago, they released me. I mean, they didn't exactly release me. They put me in a basket and left me on Warner Brothers' doorstep. But anyway, that's in the past. Note to go on with the future. I'd like to say that tonight or tomorrow, sometime in the next day or two, I am going to Miami Beach, Florida, where I am going to appear at the Fontainebleau Hotel for 2 weeks, starting February 3rd, you see. Then after that, they want me to play 2 weeks in Havana, Cuba. And we've already been dickering about, you know, my working there, but I don't know, I'm kind of afraid to go there because, you know, with all the commotion and the excitement and the shooting and everything, you know, fellas liable to get killed. But if they meet my price, I'll figure a way some way. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present my guest star this evening, a young fellow whom I think is one of the most versatile comedians in all of show business, Mr. Ernie Kovacs. Nice to have you on the show, Ernie.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Mr. Benny.
Mr. Benny? Oh, Ernie, we've known each other too long. You don't have to call me Mr. Benny.
Oh, I can't help it. Just standing here in the presence of someone who's reached such eminence in the field of comedy, it makes me feel so humble. In the ancient tradition of the Orient, I feel that I should fall upon my knees and commit Harry Carey.
Harry Carey on my television show?
It wouldn't hurt anything. I'd bleed in black and white.
Well, that would be something first in television. But, Ernie, I must say that I do appreciate that compliment, and modestly, in all modesty, I must admit that I have been very, very fortunate in television.
Not only television, but radio, pictures. You made your last picture 15 years ago. People are still talking about it.
Wait a minute, Ernie. That could be taken either way, you know?
Well, if it could, I guess I gave it the wrong inflection.
Now, wait a minute. Listen, Ernie, I didn't bring you out here to argue with you or anything. I was very, very serious when I introduced you as one of our most versatile comedians, because I used to see all of your television shows, and I don't know, your dialogue was always so sparkling and witty and original and everything. I wish my writers could be that funny.
You use writers?
Well, Ernie, don't you use writers?
Oh, only for suicide notes.
Now I wish I let him commit Harry Carey. But Ernie, you know, you interest me because I've learned so much about you since you've been out here. You do so many things. You're always so busy. And as busy as you are, you still find time for a hobby, I understand. Huh?
Yeah, I guess I'm just about the world's most renowned mustache collector.
A mustache collector?
Yeah, in the Encyclopedia Britannica, it's called a fuzzomologist.
Fuzzomologist. Oh, for heaven's sake.
What's the matter?
You just finished a crossword puzzle I've been working on for 2 weeks.
Have you ever considered what a mustache would do for you?
No, I never gave it a thought, really.
Yeah, I found mine would be a real big influence on my life. There was a time when I was shy and withdrawn, you know. The moment I grew a mustache, my whole personality changed.
Really?
Yeah. I was the most popular 8-year-old in the block.
Ernie, you wore a mustache when you were 8 years old?
On my way to school, they used to point at me and say, "Help that little old man across the street."
Funny thing, I don't never wear a mustache, and that happened to me yesterday.
I think that you could change your whole personality. Let me try. I have my mustache collection right here. Let me.
Look, Ernie.
No, bring it out, would you, dear?
Mustache collection? This I never heard of. A mustache collection. I mean, I've heard of a lot of other...
Probably enough for me. You're crushing my picture of Bert Parks. Please. Huh? Later, perhaps. It's enough to drive you to shave, you know? Now then, you take this if you would, Jack. Now, what kind of mustache would you prefer?
Well, if you're going to shave yours, I'd like that one.
No, I think we'll get something for you. Here. Something more for your personality. There.
I look like Colonel Blimp. And, No, I wouldn't like this one, I don't think. No. This does nothing for me at all, I think.
Oh, here's something that's becoming very popular.
I mean, what's this? Huh?
That's a smog filter.
Smog filter?
Yeah, you can put it on your nose or your exhaust pipe. Become a new steak that's rather nice there. It's a walrus mustache.
Well, do you think this does something for me, the walrus?
Maybe if we put a fish in your mouth.
No, never.
Chic and petite.
Oh, boy, huh? That looks wonderful. Now, this one I like. This one I could wear all the time. I really could. I could wear this one all the time.
I think it's starting to work already. Look.
Huh? What? That's the one that helped me across the street yesterday. Well, I don't know, Ernie.
Pardon me, sir, but there's a phone call from Mr. Kovacs. It's a Mr. Sherman.
Oh, is that Mr. Sherman, the movie producer?
Yeah, he's casting a picture. Tell him.
A picture?
Yeah. Tell him I'm in the middle of a show. I can't take it.
I'll take it. Well, I'll see you later. Well, while Ernie has gone to use the phone, I think I'll bring out Don Wilson, and we'll have our commercial now. Oh, Don Wilson, would you come out, please? Now, Don, I know that we've had Ernie Kovacs. We have him as a guest, and we talked a lot about mustaches, but this is ridiculous.
Oh, man, this got nothing to do with Kovacs. All us boys at the coffee house wear beards.
Coffee house?
Like, yes.
Yes? Do you hang around the coffee house?
Espresso, man, espresso.
Don, I never thought you'd become a beatnik. A fatnik, yes, but not a...
Hey, man, your melon's got corners on it.
Now, cut that! Now, Don, if you came out here in this outfit with this silly thing, you certainly must have something in mind. So go ahead and go through with it, and I'll see you later.
Beat, 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 listen to the beat. Beat, 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 listen to the beat. If you're bugged with your business, if you're weary of your wife, don't be dull or dejected, there's a better way of life. Just forget responsibilities, prepare to have a treat. Man, like,
Split to the coffee house and listen to the beat. Yes, we're the Beat Generation, assorted aggregation. We score obligation.
No, we won't conform.
Okay, the Beat Generation, a modest operation. We're taking the nation
by a very little storm.
lend an ear to my story, chum. If you're a working man, take a break, light a Lucky, which there's no smoke better than. Get the taste that's true and always rich, a taste just mild enough. You'll dig the taste of Lucky Strike when you begin to puff, 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 puff. You begin to puff.
Puff, 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 puff. Lucky sure enough.
Hey, Don.
Yeah, man.
If you want to be beat, first thing you got to do is communicate. Like, man, you gotta talk the language, you know?
Like how?
A cig is what you're smoking.
Jazzy means it's great.
A cat is one who's on the beat.
An outer gets the gate.
So don't be an outer, just be a cat and puff on a lucky while you chit-chat. For that's the way you're smoking if you're smoking on the beat, 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 beat. Smoking on the beat.
A lucky strike is the utmost, the very living utmost. From east to the west coast, Lucky Strike is really in. Get a good grip on your lighter and prepare to have a treatment light. Light up a Lucky and you're smoking on the beat.
I don't know, times have certainly changed. I used to be a minuetnik.
Anyway, I'm sorry it took so long, but it's all settled, Jack.
Oh, the picture? Did they offer you the picture?
Oh, but yeah, but...
You turned down the picture? But why?
It's a prison. It's a prison picture, and has the old jute mills and the leg irons and the rock pallets.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Passe. Prisons aren't like that anymore. They have the scientific approach they have. Recreational facilities and visiting privileges and the honor systems.
Say, you know, Ernie, I was reading an article about that in the paper, what they're doing in prisons now. They seem to emphasize rehabilitation. Yeah. They're being very, very nice to prisoners.
Yeah, can you imagine what it'll be like if the present trend continues?
I certainly can.
So listen, let's you and I show the audience what prisons will be like in 1970.
Okay, let's do that. A little prison music, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Claremont Prison, a federal penal institution in the year 1970. Claremont Prison, typical of many institutions throughout the country, is located on Nob Hill in San Francisco, overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. Here, taking their course of correction, are such notorious criminals as Muggsy McGurk. Mr. McGurk, how long have you been in Claremont Prison?
Let's see. I've been incarcerated in this rehabilitation center nigh on to 16 years.
16 years?
Yeah. Another 4 years, and they give me a gold watch. Would you like to meet some of the other boys?
Yes, I would.
Well, standing right over there is the country's #1 counterfeiter.
Oh, so you're the country's #1 counterfeiter.
No, he's the counterfeiter. I'm his model.
Oh, then you're the counterfeiter.
That's me. Inky Green.
Tell me, what made you take up counterfeiting?
Well, I used to be a shoplifter, but one day my conscience bothered me, and I figured I'd better begin paying for this stuff.
Well, all I can say is you're all heart, Stinky.
That's Inky!
Now, ladies and gentlemen, having met some of the inmates, we bring you A Day in Claremont Prison, or Blockhouse 90.
Mail call. Mail call. Hey, I got some letters here for Killer Kovacs and Benny the Louse. Where are they?
I don't know. I haven't seen them this morning.
Did you, Joe?
No. Did you, Warden?
Here they come now.
Well, Killer, you sure played a great game today. Your drives are improving.
Yeah, much better than yesterday.
Yes, sir. Hey, I just thought of something. We forgot to pay the the caddy.
Oh, you don't have to. I ran over him.
Hey, Warden, take care. When you get through with that, take care of these clubs, will you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey, I got some letters for you guys. Here's one for you, Killer, and one for Benny the Louse.
Who's it from?
I don't know. It's kind of dark in here. I can't see.
Yeah, get some light.
Yeah, get some light for me, will you? I can hardly read this. for my wife. Look how she starts it. Dear Louse. Isn't that cute?
Hey, Louse.
Yeah?
Do me a favor, will you? This is Claremont Prison. Why don't you change your name?
If you change my sheets, I'll change my name.
Change the sheets 3 times a day. You're always complaining, always complaining.
Never mind. Clean the clubs or I'll call the governor.
Checkers, all the time, checkers.
Well, what's the difference? They're not bothering anybody. They're nice guys.
Nice guys. All I know is when they sent me up here, they promised me a single room. Stinking judge.
Hey, look, they got the week's activities posted up here. Yeah? Next Tuesday, the polo match will be delayed a half hour in order not to conflict with the cha-cha lessons.
I mean, who needs cha-cha lessons?
You do. New Year's Eve, you stepped all over my feet.
Well, you deserved it. I mean, wearing a dress with that silly mustache. That was ridiculous. Hey, what's going on here?
The warden's bringing in a new prisoner.
In the same cell?
Another one? Oh, that stinking judge.
Now, this takes care of the air conditioning, and this dims the lights. Restful, isn't it? And this takes care of the hi-fi. And here is your color television set. I hope you enjoy your stay.
Hey, fellas.
Yeah?
Is this one of those prisons? Without any bars?
No, we have bars all over. We have a bar in the lounge. We have a bar in the dining room. We have a bar in the gas chamber.
A bar in the gas chamber? Yeah, you know, one for the road.
Hey, fellas, when do we eat around here? I'm starved.
Well, I wish you'd have mentioned it. About time. Hey, room service. This is cell 785. We have a standing order to have dinner here every night at 5 o'clock. Now, where is it? Oh, here it is. You like the food in here, won't you?
Oh, it's great. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, this food looks good. Oh. Yes, thank you. I'll have some Lucky Strike.
Would you like your picture taken?
No. Oh, wait a minute, miss. Come back here. Hey, Killer, let you and I have our picture taken.
Oh, I don't want my picture taken.
Oh, come on. I want something to remember you by. This is your last day. You're being released.
You promised not to talk about that.
Killer, come on. Let's have our picture taken.
All right. What are your call with?
Here.
You got another?
Yeah. This was ready in case I didn't have it.
I'll have this ready in a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Deliver Kovacs. Your time has come.
They're after you, Killer. You gotta go. Come on, Killer. Take it like a man. Look, I mean, the other prisoners are using you as an example.
I don't want to be an example.
Come on, Killer. Control yourself.
I'm going, fellas.
Goodbye, Killer.
Goodbye, Louse.
Good luck, Killer.
Goodbye, Alfred. Stinky.
That's 18.
Come on, Killer. We're waiting.
Oh, yeah. I go. Oh, maybe that's you, Robo.
Going home.
thought the killer would crack. But we all gotta go sometime. Here, stranger, have some caviar.
Oh, thanks. By the way, Louts, how long are you in for?
10 years.
10 years? What did you do?
Nothing. I won it on a quiz program.
Betting Louts will be back in just a moment with his guest, Ernie Kovacs. But first, here's a word about the honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
You can be awfully busy and still have time for a cigarette. A lot of men like this one, Lucky Strike. It's the genuine article. Outdoors you can taste it when you smoke Lucky Strike. The honest taste of fine tobacco. That's what you get with Lucky Strike. Smoke one and see.
Never was a man who could forget the taste of a genuine cigarette. Get the honest taste a man can like. The honest taste of a Lucky Strike. The honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
Get the genuine article. Get the honest taste of a Lucky Strike.
Now, I'd like to bring out my guest star, Ernie Kovacs. Ernie, you were just wonderful on the show. It was nice, kind of fun doing that prison scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you don't think we started a crime wave, do you?
No, I think the comic books beat us to it. You know? But Ernie, that last scene, when you were so dramatic and you had to leave the prison, gee, you did a great job. I don't know, it got me right here.
Well, that's the place where you keep the wallet. We got it.
That's all right. I won't forget.
Listen, I'd like to compliment you, Jack, on your wonderful performance in Bell, Book, and Candle.
Wait a minute, Ernie. I wasn't in Bell, Book, and Candle.
No, you see, but I was, and nobody's even mentioned it.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry. I won't forget. And thanks again very, very much. Now, you got to go. It's a half hour.
I don't want to go. In 5 minutes, I'd have been on overtime.
Ladies and gentlemen, next Sunday, be sure and watch Bachelor Father, starring John Forsythe, and I'll be back in 2 weeks when my guest will be Danny Thomas, and also, but don't tell her, Mary Livingston.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I am joined by Kathy Fuller-Seeley. Hey, Kathy.
Hey.
And we have John Henderson here. Hey, John.
Hello.
Speaking of live versions, today we have a live version of the Jack Benny Show from late in the run, 1959. I mean, or late as far as live shows go. By this time, Playhouse 90 and Studio One and all those great live television shows that are epic and everything were dying out, and they were, by the end of 59, pretty much all the live stuff would be gone.
It was so expensive.
Oh yeah,
things live, and they were not useful. They drew people for must-see TV that one day, but you couldn't repeat it. You know, so from the network's perspective, I think liveness, it kind of was outliving its usefulness,
right,
versus the savings of being able to film something ahead of time.
Right.
So,
but why did they like it for Jack, Kathy? Can you explain to the audience why you think they kept on going live with Jack?
Appealing to his fans from over 20, 30 years, they especially appreciated Jack live. It would be that must-see TV if anybody could pull off a live show, and certainly we've enjoyed his live performances tremendously. So he's still one of the, the senior celebrity, senior star in the CBS firmament. And now that they have the beautiful Television City production facilities in Hollywood, you might as well use them. So there's,
and I can
think any
see,
number.
like, when you're going to have a big star, because so often they're the big star episodes too that are live. And I can see around Hollywood at least, and variety write-ups and all of that, where it's like, oh, did you catch that? Marilyn Monroe was on the Jack Benny show, was her first television appearance. My gosh, that's incredible. And in this case, Ernie Kovacs is, the up and coming comedian, and so featuring Ernie Kovacs on your live show, it's pretty awesome. And then this one was, so this is January 25th of 1959. So okay. Well, anyway, let's go around and say what we think about it. Ernie Kovacs, for all of you folks out there, was, like I say, an up and coming comic. He was kind of had a little bit of this I'm very good. Kind of a little bit of the style, flavor, whatever of your Robin Williams, your just that kind of free form thing where, and with Jack, that's hard to pull off, and you can tell a little bit in this episode that there's a little not Jack does great with him. It's just out of Jack's normal sort of area, so it just kind of makes it different and interesting. But unfortunately, he would pass away. He had a car accident in 1962, so within 3 years he'd be gone. And now he's just comedy legend out there, and still has quite the following still. Kathy, you got anything more to share on Ernie Kovacs?
Yes. Well, I hope that our discussion here will be seen by, there is quite an Ernie Kovacs cult that really grew up more recently, now that his early shows can be found on YouTube and released in Blu-ray and DVD collections. So a lot of people say that he was influential for their career. So awfully glad to have, as you say, an up-and-coming performer of the late 50s, early 60s, meeting the sort of past master that Jack Benny was. I think Ernie, his comedy was often frenetic, often like on the edge of flying out, off the handle. And it's so interesting to see, just you say, compare that to the quiet calmness and slowness of Jack Benny. And yet in the mustache routine, I think they managed to pull it off. When Ernie, who was so known for that mustache, is trying different ones on Jack. I thought that was a kind of a nice, sort of small, quiet kind of thing to be done on stage. So I appreciated that.
That's great. Yeah. And then, John, what were your thoughts on?
Well, I actually have never heard of Ernie Kovacs. This is my first exposure to him.
Yes.
So very interesting, and so I don't have anything going into it to be able to compare Ernie Kovacs to. To me, he didn't seem that wild and crazy Robin Williams-y in this episode. He seemed pretty slow, and so it's interesting to hear.
I think that's a piece of it, though. If you were to watch Ernie Kovacs in other things, and then see this, you would see it's Ernie Kovacs, I think, trying to fit into a Jack Benny written script.
Kind of almost like a tightly taut spring.
Because if you're Robin Williams and you get on somebody's established show that you really respect, right? Are you gonna, and they're not known for going totally crazy? Are you gonna go totally crazy? You probably dial it back, and so you're gonna seem like a tamed down. It doesn't put you in your best light, maybe. And I think that's a little bit what happens here with Ernie. Is you can sometimes feel, you can see the eyes going like, oh, he wants to say something, but he's sticking to the script and not going where he
that's
to
interesting.
go. So so that's interesting.
Well, as a major Jack Benny fan, this is a different episode than a lot of Jack Benny. And so I wonder if it's because now we're getting, towards the 60s and things are changing and they're trying to keep up, or if it's the influence of Ernie Kovacs and maybe he's sort of like taking over a little bit. Like even the idea of, we're going to do a commentary on prisons. Like that's not something that normally Jack Benny would do.
Correct.
So
it's kind of a loaded thing, and it's I think you're right. I think it might be taking that on because of Ernie Kovacs, because that
Yeah.
is more of his uh, darker, more challenging
Right.
comedy and things. So, like I
And
said,
yet it's related. They did do several times the Beverly Hills Police Station.
yes,
Saying here's what the police normally are, but here they're poofy and and upper class and there's chandeliers. But you say it's different prison.
yes.
So
Yes.
Well, this to me has
yeah.
a little more edge to it than that, because that is kind of let's have fun with police and everything. This is still, we're going to have fun with this, but it's kind of like, oh, look how soft our prison system is now, and look how easy it is for the inmates, and folks might actually choose to be in something like this where they're getting their meals and all that. I mean, there's always been that kind of that joke in the background forever of, oh, we get 3 square meals a day and all of that if you were in prison. But this takes it, of course, to a whole nother level, which is perfect for Jack's show.
Yeah, and yet, what an interesting episode. If we think about it, for the fabulous, make this into one of your snippet reels, Daryl. The Beatnik commercial in the middle.
Yes,
the Don in that big white sweater. So on the other hand, they're talking about these young people as rebels.
Yeah.
Constantly smoking, hip with their own lingo, and this is before the '60s hippies. So they're to be made fun of, but not not trashed like hippies would be trashed. And
I loved it. That was I thought the commercial was. This is probably the only episode I can think of where the commercial is probably the best part of the whole episode. I mean, I think I enjoyed that more than anything else. I mean, it's hard. We always talk about how much we love Don, and so seeing Don and he can do anything, and we always said that. So seeing this, it was so unique. I'd never seen. As far as I know, I've never seen a live version of this or anything. I mean, a film version of this, and even if it existed, they probably would have cut that out because it would have been part of the commercial, right? So it's just nice with this live one to actually see that bit. But it is so good. The other thing I wanted to ask about Don, though, as we get into this bit this commercial a little bit, did he have any interactions with Jack in this episode? I don't know if they were ever on this stage together.
I think when he comes out before the commercial, he does chat with Jack a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I was thinking, boy, it sure seemed
because
like
he
it was
comes
all
out
separate.
with the beard, and Jack makes the joke about.
There we go.
Yeah.
So there's a little. But anyway, John, what did you think about the commercial? Because it's great.
Oh, I love the commercial thing, and you're right. It is different because it's sort of like the hippie thing, but it's before hippies became a threat. So they're not worried about it, and they're just making fun of it. But I just loved the bit itself because everyone is having so much fun. Like, they're having the time of their life, and they think it's the funniest thing in the world, and that's contagious. So I loved that. And it's always so funny to see these beatnik things, because I have no reference for an actual beatnik. A coffee house sort of like young person thing, like that was a very specific time in history. And yet when you watch so many different things, cartoons, they all, the Adobe Gillis show, they've got all these references to beatnik. So I always find it fascinating.
Maynard T. Krebs or whatever on the Adobe Gillis show is the ultimate beatnik, of course, played by what's his name, Bob Denver, right? No, is that right? Who played Gilligan later on. But I think he's really interesting as Maynard T. Krebs, and he's fun to watch.
But it in itself is curious compared to that outrageous opening commercial about the manliness of Lucky Smoke.
Oh my gosh!
So that's who was actually left of the market. So this is the tail end of Lucky's being able to afford national TV advertising. They had to dump Jack. They just plain couldn't afford him because the market for Lucky's had just contracted. They were coffin nails, unfiltered, harsh, terrible for manly men. And the idea that espresso drinking beatniks would also be smoking unfiltered Luckies.
I always wonder how much those guys had to practice to get we need the coolest look. when you're
Yeah.
smoking and
A
just
man
just
like this,
yeah.
shooting and crashing cars.
It was, I mean, the commercials in this between that and they're fantastic. I mean, they're like the best.
They're fabulous. And then when we compare it to the second show, we'll be talking about, sponsored by Lux, which is all the ladylike
Yes.
sort of, oh, it's so creamy for your hands while you're scrubbing the dishes. And yet, so I mean, if an alien came to the U.S., landed, and they only had these couple of shows to say what was life like in America and who watched television.
Yeah.
So if this first show says, oh, the ads target mostly men, manly men, and that's Jackson, manly man comedian. And then when we get to Lux, oh, the television audience is female, hard-working women who care about their poor chapped heads.
It makes me wonder whether they kind of steered some of the shows towards the commercials. I don't know, because like this one, you have Ernie Kovacs, who's very hard-hitting comedian, edgy, perfect for a cigarette ad where you're a tough guy and all that. And the other episode with Lux, Natalie Wood, young, don't you want to be like Natalie Wood and use Lux and the whole, I mean, she doesn't do the ad or anything, but it does tie the two together somewhat. And then my favorite with the Lux is, oh, sometimes I think that she says something like, sometimes I'm using it and sometimes I don't even notice that I'm using it or whatever. It's like, really? You don't notice? You have soap on your hands? It's just, the dishes just seem to wash themselves. It's amazing. Anyway, all right.
But you're right. I read Sheldon Leonard's autobiography over the winter break, and he says up through when he was producing the Dick Van Dyke Show, so up through 65, 66, you working with the sponsor was the most important thing. So this is before the networks start breaking all the commercials up and selling them individually, that the sponsor had a lot to do. I mean, they had to okay everything. So, there's...
Yeah, you wonder if they see the upcoming if they get a list of upcoming episodes and go, oh, we want to do that one because there's a late, there's Natalie Wood's in that one. We want that one. We don't want this one with Ernie Kovacs. Let somebody else have that. And then the cigarette guys are like, oh yeah, Ernie Kovacs, we'll go with that. But
so this is 59, and of course we're used to seeing Lucky Strike. So I assume Lucky Strike is still the constant sponsor. Does that change by next season that you're talking about, 1960?
I believe so. Let me find out.
See, and I think, wasn't there a time when it was Lux? Some weeks they did like a third of them, and like Lipton Tea did a third of them.
Yes. Okay. So it turns out the first Lux episode was the beginning of fall 59. Okay. So April 59 is Lucky, and that's their last show. October 59, they've switched to Lux. So, as I said, Lucky's was a dying brand, and they just the company switched everything to Marlboro.
Marlboro, the Marlboro Man, the whole thing. Yeah, that was the big thing in the 70s. So they switched the right way, apparently. Anyway.
Let's talk a little bit about the beginning of this episode. Jack Benny recaps Gaslight.
Yes, I love that. But
and I know, I was going to say, Buck, you've sort of recapped that history before, so remind me what happened.
So essentially, I think it's 53, might be 52, 53, sometime in there. They create the Gaslight episode. It's not film. I guess it's a live kinescope, maybe.
The first one was live, and then they went to film it, I believe. So
okay, but the one then they get sued, and so Jack takes it. I mean, here he mentions the Supreme Court and things. So I mean, he takes it all the way to the Supreme Court, I guess, and he wins the rights to be, he's able to show it. But now
he actually lost. So here, okay, so I'm looking in Laura's wonderful book.
Sure.
This filmed episode had been made in June 53, a redo of the live version of it. I think they'd done it on radio before. What MGM, the film studio that made Gaslight with Ingrid Bergman, they were the ones who sued, and for them, something recorded that could be played over and over and over was their breaking point, and they said, "You've ruined our intellectual property. We can't now remake." They said, "If we try to do a film remake of Gaslight, it would now have to be in competition with your film television episode, and it would be worth less."
Yeah.
So they hadn't minded radio because that was different,
because
and they
Jack's,
hadn't minded live.
Jack's parodies of these films are of the same caliber as the film itself. So yes,
this
you
is
can't
ridiculous. So they
possibly-
said it's too close. It's going to damage our interest. It's ridiculous. So that's why Jack and CBS took it in the courts all the way up to the Supreme Court when Jack says driving the Supreme Court nuts.
So but you're saying they lost at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
But then they let them air it somehow?
Exactly. Finally, then after a while, and the studio said, "Oh, what the hell?" We'll let it go. So because then they figured out how you could make adaptation money and things like that. So from protesting everything to working with.
And I guess it doesn't. And can you double check? You have the episode right there that you're in your book that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Can you double check to make sure it's filmed and not live?
It is filmed.
It is filmed. Okay.
It was filmed in June.
Okay.
Of 53.
It's so strange because I guess it's just all the versions we see. It was never put in the syndication package, so they're always really poor quality. So it looks
right. The live version on television had been done in January 52. So.
Well, maybe that's the one we see then. Maybe that's the one that's circulating. Maybe the filmed one's not circulating. So maybe they aired the filmed one because they let them do it. So they air the filmed one that we've never seen, theoretically, right? Well, and then the one that's circulating that we bump into that we did a show on is the live version because I'd have to look at it again, but man, that looked live to me.
We'll go do our homework.
Yeah. But that's what I think probably my guess would be happened. And that's why, because it's so many years earlier, you get Bob Crosby appearing on it, who hadn't been on the show since like 56.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Bob Crosby's in an episode because they're doing Gaslight. And I'm sure Jack and his team were like, okay, this is like way strange showing this now, but
I think though it was probably in the news. People were probably following the story.
For sure. I know you would do it. It would just be strange for them.
Barbara Stanwyck's still big star gold. Why not show it?
Yeah.
So
well, and it'd have to be big. How many times ever in Jack Benny history do we have Jack talking about an episode, not an upcoming episode, but last time they aired it? And this wouldn't even be last week. It would be a multiple weeks ago because his shows aren't on every week, right? They alternate with other shows at this point. So he's mentioning an episode that was maybe on a month ago or something. So it must have got a lot of notoriety and things. And he thought, let's go ahead and mention it. So I think it's great that he does. And for our audience, for us, we did it. How long ago did we do it? A long time ago. A couple years ago, but for them, they're going to see it right before they see this one because they'll be, so they can go back and look at it and see if I'm right that it's the live. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a film version. But anyway.
Well, and this goes back to the idea of live versus filmed and the way it was perceived at the time. And if they're suing because this is a filmed episode and it's competing with movies, maybe sort of the thought from the executives is, if you do a live show that's television. That's something you can't get at the movies.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. The other thing that this brings up, which I think is a good thing for us to mention, because it happens to us sometimes, we get things confused and everything. Because episodes are filmed, some of them are filmed, and they're live, right? So there's a live version from probably 5 years before the film version. Sometimes it's from a year before, sometimes it's from 8 years before, who knows? But when there's shared around and things over the internet and everything, sometimes someone will read the synopsis and go, oh, this is the live episode that they did in 53, when really it's the filmed version from 61 that's mislabeled, right? And more often vice versa. More often do they have a live one circulating and they call it the filmed one, right? The one that you see the most of with this is the Christmas episode, because it's Christmas shopping episode, highly popular. You'll see that, oh, they both exist. Look at that. Some of them are the 1960 filmed version and some are the 1957, I think, live version. And it's like, no, they're not. They're all the 1960 filmed version that people mislabel as the live. No one's seen the live. I mean, we have the script for the live, and the script for the live shows me that it's very similar to the filmed episode. There's a few differences. It's actually, I think it's the one case, because I can't think of another, where I bet if we had the film version and the live version and we compared them as a group back to back, we'd probably like the film version better than the live, because it adds, there's a few bits that are really great that are in the film version that aren't in the live, because you can see it, right? The Christmas shopping episode on radio kind of got better and better. They would fine tune it and fine tune it and fine tune it. It makes total sense that they would have a live version and then a few years later have a film version and be fine tuned even more, right? And so that's what you get. But I would love to see the live. Someday maybe we'll act out the live, because that would be fun too. Though the whole Mel Blanc part stays the same. And so, but it would be fun to see him deteriorate live instead of filmed, right? So that would be interesting. But
especially if John plays it. So
what was that?
Especially if John performs.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah. You can't see. I mean, seeing John deteriorate is great. John, slowly as we do the rest of this episode, this review, then just kind of get crazier and crazier. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. And then Ernie Kovacs comes on and he does it.
It's like John Belushi when he one of those things where he'd be doing the talk.
Yeah. Waiting for John to take out his samurai sword and cut the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
But having said all that, let's talk a little bit about the jail piece. I think that's fun, because it's a lot. The quality of it, of the sets and everything, is better than we normally see in live shows, but it has a lot of those kind of gag things built into the set that you saw in like some of the early lives, like when the burglars break into Jack's house and they open his drawers and things fly out at them and so forth, and they're bits that sometimes don't work. In this case, they flip around a television set for you to see. And what I love, this is one of these episodes where if we did it the old way we used to do it, where we'd come on before the episode, we'd go, oh, we don't want to spoil all this, right?
Yeah.
But because you've all seen the episode before you got here, you know, and you're a true fan if you stuck through all this and you're still with us. So anyway, but I love it. I love when he swings. I didn't think there was going to be TV there, and then they swing around and here's their TV, and I'm going, wow, it's built into the wall somewhat. So you're like, oh, that's almost like a TV from today.
And coming out in the posh golf carts and the prison warden having to shine the shoes and do the video stuff.
My favorite part, though, I love where they're like, oh, let's let some sunlight in, and they pull back the bars like they're curtains.
Right. Yes,
I thought that was great.
And then help me out with the part I didn't get, but I think because I was watching it like late at night, I was like half falling asleep and half watching the episode. So the Ernie Kovacs character it's his final day or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be electrocuted, killed, right? But instead, it's his final day, isn't it, of being in, and so he's going to have to leave the jail and go back into society, right?
Yeah.
And so, but that's the most horrible day for these guys, is when they actually have to leave, and so that's the joke. That's a great joke. That's a great little flip on.
And they were like, and Jack, what are you in for? He's like, nothing. I won it on a quiz program.
Yes, yes, I love that bit. That is so good.
But here we get to see Ernie doing some of that physical over-the-top comedy that he was known for in his own show. How he no, you can't
Yeah.
make me. I'm gonna roll on the ground and things like that.
Yes, it's so funny. It almost seems like two different characters. He's got the calm one that he is before they get into the skit where they're just talking at the microphones or whatever, and then they go into the skit and he becomes this more elaborate character. I love it. But yeah, I thought, to me, this whole show worked. It just was different, and the fact that on this show it's pretty much Jack and his guest, and there's a few other people, but it's not that it wasn't his standard. It wasn't like he runs into Mel Blanc and he runs into Frank Nelson as the other inmates or something, right? Which I would have loved if it was.
But no, you're right. This one was much more like sketch comedy than situation comedy.
Yes.
And I would like, before we finish, I did want, at the very end, one thing I did appreciate when Jack says from the stage that next week's show is going to have Danny Thomas and maybe an appearance from Mary Livingston, and the audience goes, "Oh!"
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was very sweet.
Very sweet. So I love how he says that, though. Danny Thomas and maybe an appearance from Mary. Okay, Mary's only in filmed episodes.
Yeah.
If he says she's going to be in the episode, she's going to be in the episode because it's filmed. But I don't think we have that one. Have you seen the Danny Thomas? I mean, did she say it's Danny Thomas, or who was it that was going to be in it with her?
Well,
no, we would. I know which one it is.
Jack
It's the Danny Thomas at the nightclub. Yes,
and it was filmed. And isn't this the same one that they did live? Maybe where they go. Had they done that where they go down to the basement and go in nightclub?
Which confuses me because you have the live and the film, but and we've done the film before, so we're going to be presenting that one too, of course.
Yeah. I do feel like this. I feel like this episode, especially the first half, wouldn't have worked if it wasn't live. Like the thing where, he's got his mustache, so he's irresistible, and the woman kisses him, and Jack reacts to that and tries on the mustache. I feel like a lot of that is dependent on, firstly, their energy with each other. Like when Jack watches them being kissed, and you see the look on his face and the reaction, and then the whole thing where he's trying on the mustaches and the audience reacts. I feel like if you didn't have it as a live episode, none of that would work. So
right, yeah, and that's the problem with the filmed episodes. If you're going to film it, you pretty much, to me, need to go with the whole sitcom feel of an episode and do that. That's their most successful sort of filmed. If you're going to pretend you're in front of a live audience and you're not, and then you do the canned laughter and you're in front of the curtain thing, I just don't think that works nearly as well live. I mean, nearly as well filmed as it does live.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the second half could have been filmed and it would have been fine.
Yeah. And the other thing that I like about this episode, because this is not the funniest episode of Jack Benny that there is.
Oh, come on!
But in some ways,
well, actually, they've already seen it, so yeah, they know it's not. I get more laughs out of watching us, but that's okay.
the thing that is worth watching is the fact that it's a historical piece. It's of a time period. Like you said, the whole prison commentary is something that is. You wouldn't have done that earlier, I don't think. No. And Ernie Kovacs, this obviously was of a very specific time. Yes. And I also thought it was interesting. One of the references they make, they say that you can't blame crime on me. We blame the comic books, which was also a thing that was going on around that time, where it's like, comic books, they're the reason that all these young people are being criminals.
Yeah, but even that, it's so funny because I noticed the same thing, and even that's a little out of date because the comic thing was like 53, 54, 55 is when the comics they have the House Committee on juvenile delinquency, connection with comics, and all that happens then. The comic industry by 59, that's why you have the resurgence of the whole superhero thing, because they moved away from horror comics and crime comics and all of that kind of stuff. And they go, okay, well, we can't make that stuff anymore because they say we're leading to juvenile delinquency and no one will buy our books. So now they go back to superheroes, and that's why you have in 1956, what a coincidence, that's when you have the new Silver Age, when you reintroduce Aquaman and reintroduce uh, Green Arrow and all these DC superheroes. And then, but I think that's why we have comics today, maybe, is because they did this, made them stop producing the crime comics and the horror comics and stuff that probably would have dwindled out anyway, and replace them with the evergreen superheroes that we have now and movies that we have with them. And by 61, you get Stan Lee that's going, oh, well, we can't do these things anymore either. And our comics are my company's comics are falling through the floor and no one's getting them. So they're letting me do whatever I want. So I'm going to try this thing, Spider-Man, and see how this works. My wife, he's about ready to leave. He's like, I'm done with this, right? I can't, I'm going to go, I'll be a salesman. I'll go do something else. And his wife goes, why? You've done this for years. You've always wanted to do certain things. Do it the way you want and see what happens. So he had this idea for the Spider-Man thing, and so they do that, and they do the Fantastic Four, and those things take off, and then he's on the ground running with Iron Man and with and so all of that comes into existence that I don't think would without this.
If it wasn't for the pushback on the crime comics, we wouldn't have had Spider-Man. We wouldn't have had the super pets. We got to thank them.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's some of my favorite stuff to look at is the comics from like 57, 58, 59, 60.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You get the super pets, you get all the crazy
Supergirl,
goofy stories
yeah.
where they go, well, what comics should we put out? You can't sell much of anything. It's got to be, well, let's look at, there's Archie that still sells. Oh, let's do Jimmy Olsen as his own comic.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought of that? And it worked brilliantly.
Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane.
Yes.
The whole series.
1959, that comes into existence. Jimmy Olsen, I think it was 1954 when the first issue of Jimmy Olsen comes out. So, I mean, all of that stuff wouldn't have happened without the pushback. So,
and Jack Benny's at the center of it all here. So
yes, commentary on
back,
it all.
Talking about trying to perform in Havana unless the revolutionaries get to him, supporting Beatniks and Lucky Strike cigarettes. He's there.
It all comes around, right? It's all there. No, I think that's great. Yeah, that's all. I don't know. I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a unique, different. I mean, it's probably, of all the episodes we played recently, the most historically interesting to watch. Both the reference to Gaslight, the commercials, the commercials don't get any more manly than the manly commercial that's on this thing. And then the whole Beatnik thing was fantastic. A tour de force for Dawn. And so
But this happens over and over again, audience members, that will start out the episode going, it was meh. It wasn't the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then we'll talk ourselves into, this, look at that. And we'll end up going, it's the greatest one ever.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. So I think I think we do that all the time too, which I think is great. It shows how much we love Jack Benny. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that we can go and every week talk about an episode and do it. But if there's anything we were ever going to do for any series that I can think of, this is a good one because we get it live, we get a studio, we get one in his house, we get one in front of it. He does it so many different ways. It keeps it fresh and it keeps it interesting for us to talk about. Even I mean, I love Lucy, but I think if we were doing every episode of I Love Lucy, we'd start going, okay, here she's doing, and it'd be
bingo.
Yeah.
We get
yeah. And I think with Jack, at least so far, we shall see. It's going to be changing very soon because Jack, historically, the reason we get the lives and the films is they would film them during the summer and then sprinkle those throughout the season and have the lives that they can work on longer, more weeks to get the lives going. But this is 59 we're in now, but by the time we're in 60, Jack gets pressure on him to do it like any other television show and do it every single week. And so they do. And I have a feeling, though, what's funny is we so don't look too far ahead with us. We kind of live in the moment where we're at. But I think you're going to see all the lives go away, and it's going to be all filmed from there on out. And so they're going to have a more sameness to the episodes. And we'll see. We'll see if our reviews of them, if there's easy to do or if they get harder. But he's always, I mean, at least he's always got different guest stars, and there's lots of things to chat about. So from this day in Jack Benny.
That's right.
And how's New Year's going with the podcast and everything?
Great. Yeah, I love finding the clips that I do before the radio show, because I listen for the references, and then I try to find a clip that goes with each one. And sometimes there's so many you couldn't possibly get a clip for everything. So I spend a lot of time finding all these clips and then trying to cut it down to a listenable
and then not using them. Yeah, I really like that one. Oh, wait, I found something better. So I know how that goes. Yeah. Well, speaking of clips, I've started doing shorts on YouTube where I pick just what I decided to do. I think I mentioned this before, I'm not sure, but now the shorts used to be they only allowed a minute. Now they allow up to 3 minutes in the shorts. Well, 3 minutes is the amount of time I'm allowed to do as a trailer. As I make a trailer for an episode, I can attach it, and before the episode premieres, people can click on the episode instead of just seeing a static picture that shows, oh, the episode's going to show up in 4 days. It'll show a little clip from the episode. And so I've for quite a while I've been doing those, but it's really nice to be able to take those and then make them as a standalone short, and have it where people are scrolling through on their phones and bump into your short as part of their feed, or I guess it's reels. I don't know what they call them.
Like a TikTok.
Shorts. Yeah, like the TikTok.
Oh, will Canada still have TikTok if it's tonight? I guess it's banned tonight. So
well, and if it does get banned, more people will watch our YouTube shorts, and that'll be great because they're the same time. So, but since I've started doing shorts, it's so funny. We had 1,500 subscribers, and it took us 4 years to get to that, something like that, right? Then I started doing the shorts, and within it was a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, all of a sudden I had 2,000 subscribers. So it went up a lot right then. Well, then I kept on doing more shorts, and then one of the shorts went through the roof. It's like, when you look at my shorts, it's so funny because they'll be like, oh, this one got 500 views and this one got 700 views. And then you'll see, then you start hitting my shorts that kind of caught on a little bit, went a little bit Jack Benny viral level. And so they're like, oh, 7.9 thousand. Oh, 11,000. Oh my goodness, this one really shot up 34,000.
Wow.
62,000, 76,000. Great. 76,000, my best short, my biggest short, 76,000. Wow. Then I release the episode, the short I call Jack Benny's best joke with 30 years of buildup or something like that. And that thing, it's for Jack Benny fans. So I'm like, okay, I don't need to explain it much. It's obvious. It's a violin joke. It's from the Thanksgiving episode or whatever, where the little kid tells the joke. And it says that Jack, he used to play like Jack, right? But I just think it's hilarious. And I think it's a great capstone to the whole Jack Benny violin saga sort of thing. So I don't think I have to explain it much. It's there, and Jack Benny fans will get it. Well, that worked fine when it had 10,000 views, and then when it had 30,000 views, and then when it had 100,000 views, it was like, okay, that still works. Then it gets to 500,000 views, and you're like, then people start going, who is this guy and what's going on? You're like, okay, now I'm starting to reach people who are like 17, 25. No clue what's going on. Then it reaches 1 million views, and I'm like, well, I'm explaining it left and right and everything, but it keeps getting more popular. Now I think it's got 1.5 million views.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm just enjoying the ride, and then half the people are like, oh, this is just clickbait. 30 years, what is it? Or they try and think it's 30 years from when it was filmed. And so they go, oh, is this little Ronnie Howard? And the joke is he grows up to be Ronnie. I'm like, no, it's not little Ronnie Howard. Anyway, but it's just funny.
Fabulous.
But that being said, and so because of that video, pretty much, and millions of people get to see it, some people click subscribe, and so I went from 1,500 subscribers to 2,000 to 2,500 to 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000. Wow. And this week I just crossed 5,000, and like 3 days, it's been 3 days since I had 5,000 or something, and now I've got 5,500, almost to 6,000. So it's like, it's nice. I mean, it's nice having that many more people and exposing more people to see what Jack Benny's.
Fabulous. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm glad the shorts worked out well. I thought they might, but I didn't think they'd catch up. So at least one of them. We'll see if I can ever make another one like that.
Starts with one. So.
Yeah, all it takes is one. So
Jack Benny's second best joke after 30 years of build-up.
Well, what I want to do, my thought now for one that would be fun would be a follow-up to that one where it's I'm not sure how you would say it, but it'd be essentially showing that same joke, and then after it playing the live version, because it's a different joke. It's the same setup, it's the same, there's still a little kid, there's still the mom, but it's from the live episode. In the live episode, I think they were playing with it was probably on as being 39, or it was one of those. It wasn't violin related. So it's kind of cool to see the genesis of how live can change to, and how Jack would fine tune things. And it's good he fine tuned that, because it's obvious the second one is way better than the live version. But anyway, should be fun. Anyway, enjoy this one, and we'll see you folks next time. All right, there we go. Wow. Now for something very special. Kathy, what do we have now?
We've got a trailer for our upcoming episode.
Wow. John, do you like trailers?
Ooh, do I?
All right, let's see it.
As long as I have been in show business, I've always made it a point to try to do something different or have something new on my show, you see. And the other day I was listening to a radio program, and I heard a violin player. Well, I don't recall the station, some small station, but this violinist was so wonderful that I immediately told my producer to get in touch with this violinist and have him here on my program, you see. And I understand he's here right now, and I'd like to have you meet him. His name is Mr. Orville Gifford. Mr. Gifford, I'm Jack Benny.
Hi, Rube.
Now, before you play a number, I'm sure that our viewers would like to know something about you.
Well, I'm not only a musician on radio in the evening, but during the day I operate my own farm.
Oh, you have a farm. Are you married?
Yep, married and got 16 kids.
16 children.
Yep.
What are their names?
Well, there's A, Alvin, B, Bertram, C, Catherine, Donald, Ella, Francis, Zebra.
Wait a minute, hold it, just a minute. You named one of your children Zebra?
Yep. I was hoping if I skipped right to the Z's, that would be the end of it.
And it wasn't?
No. George, Henry, Iris.
I see. Now, the reason I asked you to come on this show was to play your violin. I understand you do novelty numbers. Is that right?
Well, I wrote a musical melodrama that wowed them at the county fair.
A musical melodrama? I see. Well, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure we all would.
Well, at the rise of the curtain, we see a living room. In the center of the living room, there's a dog fast asleep, but a burglar enters the house through a rusty door. We hear the door open.
He's in. It's dark in this room. He don't see the dog, and he steps on the dog's tail.
Wait a minute. Is that the dog yelping?
No, the burglar. The dog bit him. There's a knock on the door. The owner arrives. He sees this burglar take the money, and the struggle is on. He's up. He's down. The owner shoots.
Oh, and he got the burglar.
No, the shot woke up the dog.
Now I'm all mixed up. I imagine that's the finish.
That's right. Tomorrow night, East Lynn.
Mr. Gifford, come out here and take a bow. Mr. Gifford, I want to thank you very, very much for appearing on my show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benny, for the opportunity. Before I go, I'd like you to meet my wife.
Well, that's very nice, but some other time.
She's waiting right there in the wings.
I know, but I'm pretty busy right now.
Just a minute. Oh, Bessie! Bessie, come out here.
This is your wife?
Yep. Ain't as big a hick as you thought I was.
No, you're not.
Come on, Bessie, let's go. So long, Rube.
Well, after 16 children, he sure looks good.